Broadcasting from the Cass Corridor in Detroit, this is The Metro. I'm Tia Graham.
And I'm Robin Vincent. Today on the program, we'll look at how stock market volatility is affecting your retirement savings.
And how tariffs hitting the housing market, especially when it comes to first-time home buyers.
Plus, GLP-1 inhibitors are drugs traditionally prescribed for diabetes, but they've become really popular for weight loss. We'll look at how they're affecting body image culture and more.
But first, we often talk about downtown and midtown Detroit and New Center as well, and all the events happening there. But what about the neighborhoods? What's happening with Detroit parks? Detroit parks have been a place for gatherings and memories made by generations of people in the city. The parks offer both a chance to connect on the playgrounds for kids and an opportunity to escape and connect with nature. The Detroit Parks Coalition is a collaboration of community members and park leaders with the goal to support a healthy parks system. Ian Solomon joins us now to talk more about the upcoming events happening across Detroit parks. And Ian Solomon is the communication manager for Detroit Coalition of Parks. Welcome to the Metro.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, refresh folks a little bit about the work the Detroit Parks Coalition does and why it's important to have you all around, especially for as long as you've been around.
Absolutely. So Detroit Parks Coalition is a coalition of park stewardship organizations. So all the parks around Detroit, not all the parks, but the larger ones that you know, have these stewardship organizations, which are either volunteer ran, sometimes their staff, they all have their own personality, but they're the ones really putting on programming in these parks, taking care of the parks. They're the ones every day that knows what the land needs, what the community needs. And so we work as a coalition to get them funding, resources, and just amplify the park's message.
And the one thing that we've talked about and we continue to talk about is the importance of these community-led organizations, community groups within the neighborhoods of Detroit who've helped maintain a lot of those places and spaces. Can you talk just a little bit about the importance of communities having those liaisons, those stewards there? Because oftentimes when you see they don't have them, they don't have the access to some of the services.
Yeah, absolutely. So Detroit's Parks Coalition's roots really come from when Detroit was going through that bankruptcy and there wasn't a lot of funding to maintain the parks. A lot of those stewardship organizations are the only reason trash were getting picked up, lawns were being cut, etc. So they really are the foundation of taking care of these vital community spaces. Luckily, we're in a time where we're not in bankruptcy. There's plenty of funding to go into these parks now. But they're still there, putting together programming, making sure that the parks and its communities get what they need.
Yeah, and can we just briefly talk just about the makeup of some of those folks? Because oftentimes when I think about the leaders of these community organizations, I think of some of our older Detroiters and some of those legacy Detroiters. But can we talk about the younger generation who's coming in to take up that mantle?
Absolutely.
Like yourself, Ian.
Yes. Like myself, but Detroit Parks Coalition also this year has our first youth ambassador program. And so there are youth in 7 Detroit parks. They are learning how to be stewards, especially because you're right, there are a lot of elders involved in this, but we need to focus on the next generation and bringing people up that feel like they have ownership over their park, that feel like they're educated and aware of what's going on. So we're really excited to have them, and they'll be planning some youth-focused events this summer, so keep a lookout for it.
Nice. And just speaking about partnerships and working with folks, could you talk a little bit about some of the local organizations you work with, like the Joe Louis Greenway, and how helpful these partnerships are to the Detroit Parks system and the work you all do?
Yes, absolutely. So we partner with so many organizations. So we have the Joe Louis Greenway. We also have the Pistons. And, the Pistons, if one of our most popular programs is the Pistons Neighbors program. And that's where we have, through multiple parks all throughout the summer, games, Eastern Market, free produce, arts and crafts. There's just so many things that are brought in through these partners that you wouldn't really think of. You don't necessarily think of Pistons in parks, but they've put in a lot of different basketball hoops, as well as really just helped us put in programming in places that haven't had it before.
That is real. I grew up once again near Rouge Park, and I see the facility being built there, not too far from the pool, and it's just really, really nice to see the build up of that area and see how it's being used, because that particular park was one that was maintained well during the bankruptcy. But can we briefly just talk about the ability for the parks to be third spaces, and especially in warmer months? But now we see more additions like the Pistons Center at Rouge Park. So can we talk just a little bit about how they are as third spaces?
Yes. So one of the things we say at Detroit Parks Coalition is that parks can be anything for anybody. And so, yes, we have all this amazing programs going on, but it's also just a space and you can do anything in it. And I think that's what a lot of people are looking for when we talk about third spaces. Like, where can I go to build community, see people repeatedly without planning, right? And not spend any money. So a park is an amazing place to do that.
And speaking of money, it's a perfect transition because we're talking about finances in the next half of this show, but I want to talk about just that. It is getting harder and harder. We're pinching pennies now. We're starting to see that wallet's getting tighter and tighter, and it's harder to afford certain things. So could you talk about how the park can step in to be a space and a place for folks who maybe used to renting a hall or maybe used to doing that or this, but the park is there?
The park is there, and we have resources there. We have 5 parks across the city with Wi-Fi. Some parks serve as cooling centers. You don't have to just think of it as, a field with some trees. There are some real tangible things that you can use there to really help you put on an event or even just get some homework done.
Yes. And so before we get deep into our events that are happening, especially as Earth Day approaches, I just want to talk a little bit about just the impact that we may see federally. Will we see any impact federally in terms of park funding or anything like that? Are you guys nervous at all, or are you guys just like ready to buckle down and just continue what you normally do with parks?
I'll say everyone is ready to buckle down. Like I said, there's a history, right, starting with the bankruptcy. So everyone knows how to do what they need to do with less. But it's complicated. Like I said, we're a coalition of different organizations, and all of those individual organizations have their own funding sources outside of Detroit Parks Coalition. I can say our organization doesn't actually get any federal funding, so DPC's, moving and grooving, but there's definitely some stewardship organizations that may have some personal projects that are frozen and waiting to hear what's going on. But I wouldn't expect a huge shift in what you see in the parks.
Awesome. We're talking about Detroit parks and upcoming events free to the public. Our guest is Ian Solomon. So Ian, let's jump right into, these festivities that are going to be happening throughout this month for folks who are interested in headed to the parks for free events. So one of the things that I was really interested in is your Earth Day cleanups. Can you talk a little bit about some of those cleanups and what parks we'll see them happening?
Absolutely. So there are plenty of Earth Day cleanups. You have Chandler Park Saturday the 19th. You have Clark Park actually on Earth Day, which is Tuesday, April 22nd. You have Eliza Howe Park on Saturday, April 26th. They're pretty much everywhere, including Belle Isle, Saturday 26th as well. So if you go on the Detroit Parks Coalition events calendar, you will see all of these there listed with information, and sometimes there's registration as well. Definitely encourage you to go to DetroitParksCoalition.com/events because there are cleanups all across the city.
Which is a beautiful thing to see. And once again, I've been asking about just the role that the community should play in maintaining parks. Should the community play a huge role in maintaining their parks? We see that that's been the model in Detroit, but is that something that you think should be a model?
Absolutely. I think that's a great step for people to feel ownership over that space and feel connected and responsible to it, right? And that does a lot of the work where maybe we won't need as many cleanups if people feel like this is a place that's theirs to protect and respect.
Yes. And I want to build on that because there are often times when we'll see or you're driving through the city and you'll see trash in large spaces and places, or trash in beautiful spaces, and you're wondering, what the heck's going on here? Why is this happening? Can you talk about how you help folks foster that sense of ownership to a public space?
It all starts with an invitation, right? And so inviting people and being specific about why you're inviting them and saying, hey, this is your space. Come here, learn about it, connect to it. And you find that people typically do, and they'll come back on their own and start respecting it on their own pace. So it all starts with inviting people and being very clear and strategic about how you invite them.
Okay, let's roll through a few more of these events before we let you go. So you do have the Palmer Park Doggy Health and Wellness Fair happening Saturday, April 26th. Talk about that for folks who have their doggies and they want to make sure their dogs are okay.
Yes, so at Palmer Park, you can bring your dog on Saturday, April 26th, and there will be vaccinations, resources, all things you could think of to keep your dog healthy for the summer and also protect them. Of course, you're going to take them out in the summer more often, and there's going to be involved, maybe get into some things they're not supposed to. So this is your chance to get some free medication vaccination for your little friends.
And some info, too, because I've been in the hunt for a kitty cat, but I know that there are certain things that the animals can't be around, certain plants. So this is also another resource fair for that as well.
Yes, absolutely. It's like all around information and access to resources. So I definitely suggest it if you have a dog, come out to Palmer Park.
Yes. And before I let you go, at the end of the month, Friends of Rouge Park will gather for a hands-on tree planting event. Can you talk a little bit about that event and the importance of tending to that cherry orchard there?
Yes, so Rouge Park is starting up a cherry orchard, which is amazing.
That's so amazing.
It's so amazing. Again, I think that goes back into what we talk about, people taking ownership over their space. What a beautiful thing to be able to plant a tree and watch it grow over the years. You can come back 10 years later, eat some cherries from it and say, I planted that. So definitely encourage you to come through and make your mark on the park.
Yeah, I'm hoping that David Lyons, our executive producer, is listening out somewhere because he has a cherry tree too. And I'm hoping that he would be one of those folks that goes out and plant one of those trees. Dave, if you're listening, go plant a tree. But Ian, just let folks know one more time where they should go to know about all of the events that you all have to offer this April.
Absolutely. If you go to DetroitParksCoalition.com/events, we have a full calendar where people are constantly uploading free, open to the public events. It's a great resource. And as always, the parks are a great place to go without an event too. You can just go, chill out, lay in the park, and have a good time.
Yes. Ian Solomon is the communications manager for Detroit Coalition of Parks and a regular guest on the Metro. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Of course. From the WDET Newsroom, Governor Gretchen Whitmer says targeted tariffs can boost American manufacturing, but warned that sweeping import taxes could damage Michigan's economy. She met with President Trump at the White House after he paused his most recent round of tariffs for 90 days. The U.S. House voted to let banks charge high overdraft fees, reversing a Biden-era rule that would have capped those fees at $5. Coming up next, it's really hard for young people to purchase a home right now. I know, I'm looking myself. How is the volatility we see in the market changing that? We'll talk with a real estate expert, and we want to hear from you. Call in and let us know. Are you a young person wanting to buy a home? Do you think this is a good time to buy, or is all this craziness in the market giving you pause? The number is 313-577-1019. That's 313-577-1019. We'll get to that and more. Stay with us on the Metro.